Good morning students. In the last class we have seen how we are programming port 0 and port 1 as input port. Today we will see how to program port 2 as input port. We already know to make a port as an input port, we need to write 1 to all the pins of the port. So in the following code, port is first configured as an input port. The data is received from port 2 and is sent to port 1 continuously. So first we are moving FF to accumulator, and then we are moving the value of accumulator to port 2. Move A, 0 FFH, move P2, A. Now P2 is set as an input port by writing 1 to all its bits. Now we need to get data from port 2 and we need to write it to port 1. So now port 2 has data because it is assigned as an input port. So move A, P2. Now accumulator has the data which is available in port 2. Move P1, A. Now the value of accumulator is moved to port 1 and SGEM back. Now this process is repeating by we are looping the code. Upon reset, port 2 is configured as an input port. We already know that. All the bits of port 2 are toggled continuously by sending 55H and AAH. This also we have seen in the last class. 55H is the complement of AAH. So first we are writing 55H to port 2. Then we are calling some delay and we are complementing A. And this process is repeating so that we can continuously toggle the pins of port 2. Now we will see 3 different ways of accessing the 8 bits of a port. In the first program we can see that we are moving 55H to port 1 when we are calling for some delay, then moving AAH to port 1 we are calling for delay, and we are repeating the process to toggle the values of zeros and ones continuously. In this program we are not using accumulator. We are directly moving the values of 55H and AAH to port 1. In the second program we are moving 55H and AAH to port 1 through accumulator and using some delay. This way we are repeating continuously toggling the bits of port 1. And in the third program we are moving 55H to port accumulator and then to port 1, and we are complementing the value of accumulator and moving the complemented value to port 1. And here also we are toggling each pin of port 1 continuously. So you can we already seen all these programs. You can check it one more time, the 3 different ways of accessing the 8 bits of a port. And in the case of port 3, it is not commonly used as an input port or output port because we have seen that it has some additional functions which are very extremely important functions. The pins port 0 and pin 0 and pin 1 of port 3 are used for serial communication. Then pin 2 and pin 3 of port 3 are used for interrupts. Then 4 and 5 of port 3 are used for timers, and the pin number 6 and 7 are used for control signals read and write to the external memory. So it is normally used for performing these functions, and it is not used as an input port or output port. In the previous programs we have seen how to access all the pins of the port together. Now we will see another important feature of 8051, that is bit manipulation programming. In bit manipulation programming we are accessing individual pins of a port separately. We can access all the pins of the port separately without affecting or without changing the value of the other pins of the same port. It is a very important feature of 8051, and it is a feature which makes it more preferred over other available microcontrollers. So in 8051 we can access individual pins of each port. When accessing a port in a single bit manner, we are using the syntax setb x.y. setb will be the instruction, x will be the port number, and y will be the pin number. So it will be like setb p2.1. Then we are setting P2.1, that is the second pin of the second port 1. So X will be the port number and Y will be the pin number. So we can see a few instructions. Set B bit. Bit will be the pin number like P3.2, P2.1 like that. So set B bit. The set B instruction will set the bit to a 1. Clear bit. Clear will set the instruction to set the bit to 0. Complement bit CPL. So it will make the alter the value of the pin from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0. JB bit target. Here if the bit is high, then the program will jump to the target program. Target means it will be subroutine, target subroutine. JNB bit target. Here if the value of the bit is 0, then the program will jump to the subroutine target. Here it is jump no bit. If the bit is JNB is jump no bit, if the value of the bit is 0, then the program will jump to the subroutine target. Then another important instruction is JBC. Jump. If the value of the bit is a 1, then jump to the target subroutine and clear the bit. First the program will jump to the, if the value of the bit is a 1, the program will jump to the target subroutine and it will clear the bit. Now we will see some programs for bit manipulation. In the first program, we are complementing P1.2 continuously. So first line is CPL P1.2. We are complementing the value of P1.2. Pin number 3 of port 1. A call delay, calling some delay, SJump back. Again we are complementing P1.2, A call delay, SJump back. So we are complementing P1.2 continuously. Now we can see another way of writing this program. Set B P1.2. We are setting P1.2 to 1. Then A call delay. We are making a delay. CLR P1.2. It's clearing P1.2. That is setting P1.2 as 0. A call delay. SJump again. So here with more instructions, we are complementing P1.2 continuously. Now we will see another program. Write a program to perform the following. Keep monitoring pin P0.1 until it becomes high. So P0.1 is an input pin. It is getting data from outside until P0.1 becomes high. We need to monitor it. When P0.1 becomes high, read the data from port 1. So port 1 is also an input port. So it is getting some data from outside. So when P0.1 becomes high, we need to read the data from port 1. Send a low to high pulse on P0.2 to indicate that the data has been read. P0.2 is another pin. It is a pin of port 0. So we need to give an indication that the data on port 1 is already read. So for that we need to give a low to high pulse on P0.2. So we know P0.1 is an input pin and port 1 is an input port. So we need to write a 1 to both of these. So set B P0.1. So we are making P0.1 an input pin. Now move P1 0 FFH. Now we are writing 1 to P1. So we are making P1 as an input port. JNP P0.1 again. So it is it's a loop again. So P0.1 is an input pin. It is getting some data from outside until P0.1 is getting high. We are repeating this line again. We are repeating this loop again. JNB P01 again. This loop is repeating until P0.1 becomes high. When P0.1 becomes high, it is jumping to the next line, that is move A, P1. So P1 is a input port, it is getting data from outside. So the data on P1 is moved to accumulator A. So after the reading the data from port 1, we need to give a low to high pulse on P0.2. So for that we are clearing P0.2 first, and then we are setting P0.2 a high. So we are giving a low to high pulse on P0.2. Different languages are used for programming 8051. Initially machine language was used for programming, and machine language consists of zeros and ones. So it is the language which can be understood by the microcontroller directly. So it can be executed directly by the computer. But the problem is the programs will be very lengthy, and once we have written the program, it will be difficult to understand the program the second time because it consists of only zeros and ones, and it will be difficult to troubleshoot. So we started using assembly language. Assembly language consists of English similar words like move, jump, add, etc. called mnemonics. So the writing the program is easier, and it is the language which is not understood by the microcontroller. We need to convert it to binary. So the programs that convert the assembly language to machine language is called assemblers. So we need to use assemblers while using assembly language. Here writing programs were easier and understanding also were easier when compared to machine language. But it is machine specific. That is, the program that written for one microcontroller cannot be used for another microcontroller because it is machine specific. So we cannot use the same program for different microcontrollers. So it is not portable. We cannot use it from one microcontroller to another microcontroller. Now we will see the programming in C. C is the most widely used programming language. It is simple to write and it is easy to modify and update. We can easily modify the program and update the program, and easy to troubleshoot. Also C program has inbuilt functions. So we do not need to write a very lengthy programs. We can directly use the inbuilt functions from the libraries, and so it will reduce the length of the program. And it is portable to other microcontrollers with little or no modification. It is portable. We can use it the same program written for one microcontroller to other microcontroller. So it is portable also. So now we will see programming in C. Here the C programming need compilers to convert the C into hex file. Like in assembly language, we use assemblers to convert the program to machine language. Here we use compilers, and the most widely used compiler is Keil compilers, and the hex files are burned into the microcontroller. Data types of C. In programming 8051, the C offers different types of data types. In microcontrollers, they have a limited ROM space, that is only 64 KB. So the programmers need to use this space wisely and need to create small hex file codes to use maximum of this available space. So using the appropriate data type, the programmers can create small hex files. First we will see character data type. It is two types. One is unsigned character and other is signed character. Character data type is an 8-bit data type. In unsigned character type, there is no sign used, and in signed character type we are using sign. So in unsigned character, it takes the values from 0 to 255. That is 2 raised to 8 becomes 0 to 255. It is the most widely used data type because it is 8-bit and it is used in timers, counters, etc. So if you are writing a character data type, by default it will be signed data type. So if we do not need signed data type, like we need to use only positive numbers. So we need to declare that it is unsigned in the program. Otherwise, by default, the program will use the data type as signed data type. In signed data type, in the signed char, the MSB is used to indicate the sign plus or minus value, and the magnitude will be indicated by the remaining bits, that is D6 to D0. So only 7 bits are available to indicate the magnitude and 1 bit to indicate the sign. So it can take the values from minus 122 plus 127. So if we want signed numbers, we need to use signed character. And by default, a character data type is signed one. And if we do not need sign, we need to declare it as unsigned char in the program. Unsigned int. Now we will see integer data type. Integer data type uses 16 bits. So it takes values between 0 to FFFFH. So if we want to use only values up to 0 to 255, we can go for character data type. If we want to represent values above 255 only, then we need to go for integer data type. So it uses 16-bit memory address. So it is used to set counter values for more than 255. If it is only up to 255, we should go for character data type. If we use values more than 255, we need to go for integer data type. It is not to be used unnecessarily because it will result in large hex files. Because it is 16-bit, we need to go for integer data type only if it is required. Now signed int. Here 1 bit is, that is MSB is used to represent the sign, that is plus or minus. So we can represent positive values and negative values using signed integer. So we have 15 bits for magnitude and 1 bit for sign, and you can see the range. Now single bit, S bit, it is used to access each bit of addressable registers. It allows to access single bits. For example, in the ports P0 to P3, it is bit addressable. So we can access each bit of every port using S bit. In C programming, we are using like P3 asterisk 2 instead of P3.2 to represent the third pin of port 3. You can see the representation P3 asterisk 2. S bit LED equal to P3 asterisk 2. Here S bit is the data type, LED is the variable, and P3 we are assigning the value of we are assigning the value of P3.2 to the variable LED, and it is single bit. We are declaring that S bit. Now bit and SFR data type. The bit data type allows to access single bits of bit addressable section of RAM space, that is 22 to FH. The S bit is used to access single bits of special function registers. To access the byte size SFR registers, we need to use SFR data type. S bit is used to access single bits of SFR registers, and to access 8 bits together, we need to use SFR data type. Now we will see some programs of 8051. Write the program in 8051 to send the values 0 to FF to port 1. So first we are declaring the header file. Hash include register51.h is a header file, and register51.h has the values of all the special function registers, all the ports, etc. stored in it. So we are including register51 header file. Then void main void. In the curly bracket, you can see that we are writing the main program. So first we need to we have the range from 0 to FF, and it is only positive numbers. So we need to select the data type character, and we need to declare it as unsigned character, because by default the C will use signed character. So we need to declare unsigned character Z. For Z is equal to 0, Z less than 255, and Z plus plus. So we are initializing the variable Z, then we are setting the range 0 to 255, and we are incrementing. So every time the loop is executing, the Z is incrementing from 0 to 255. Write a C program to send hex values for ASCII characters 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, D to port 1. So declaring a header file, hash include 51, register 51.h, void main program. In the curly brackets, we are writing the main program. We are declaring the variable my number. It's an array. The square bracket indicates it an array. Unsigned character my number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A, B, C, D. Then we are assigning another variable unsigned character Z, and and with the for loop we are incrementing the value of Z from 0 to 10, and for each value of Z we are assigning the contents of the array to the port P1. So we are sending the values of hex values of ASCII characters to the port P1, and the ASCII values assigned will be 30H, 31H, 32H, 33H, etc. You can see in the last part. Write a program to toggle all the bits of port 1 continuously. We are including the header file, then void main void. To repeat a process continuously, we need to use empty for loop, and for that we have it is shown as for with empty brackets. To repeat the process in the curly brackets continuously, we are using empty for loop. Now first we are assigning 0x55. It is a way of representing hexagonal value in C. To represent hex values in C, we need to use 0x. Until now we have used 55H and AAH to represent hexagonal values. In C programming, you need to represent it as 0x. So first we are assigning 0x55 to port 1, then we are assigning 0xAA to port 1. Write a program to toggle the bit D0 of port 1 50,000 times. We need to toggle one pin of port 1 50,000 times. Here we are using the property bit addressability of ports in 8051. Hash include register 51.h, s bit my bit equal to p1.0. Here please note that we are declaring s bit outside the main program. So every time we declare s bit, we need to declare it outside the main program. Void main void unsigned int Z. Also note that we are using integer data type instead of character, because our range is above 255. Our range is from 0 to 50,000, so it is above 255, so we have to use integer data type. Then using for loop, we are assigning the values 0 and 1 to my bit. So the value 0 and 1 will be moved to port 1 50,000 times. So we can see 0 and 1 at the pin number 0 of port 1. If you are connecting an LED to this pin, the first pin of port 1, we can see it will turn on and off. So that's all for today. We will see in the next class.